The stars shimmered like broken diamonds across the black silk of space. Every light out there had a story. And so did she. High Lady Virelia of House Esiavellan didn't belong on this ship. Not among the grunts, traders, and weirdos. A noblewoman from the upper echelon of the Zethari Dominion, she was supposed to be lounging on crystal balconies and sipping plasma-infused nectar. But here she was dripping in dust and shame, standing in the narrow, humming corridor of a human freighter. She hated it. The ship smelled like oil, sweat, and fried protein packs. And the crew? Too loud. Too casual. Too human. It grated on her nerves, but she had no choice. Not after what had happened on Voltrex 9. Not after what she'd seen. Too big for me, but I'll try, she muttered under her breath. A sarcastic jab, meant for no one but herself. She tightened her cloak and stepped onto the bridge. All heads turned, conversation fading. Even now, with dirt on her boots and grime under her fingernails, she held a regal aura. Eyes followed her like magnetized glass. "Captain Lorne," she said with cold precision. The man in the center chair, slouched, eating a nutrient bar, perked up with a grin. He had that insufferable human charm, the kind that made Virelia want to scream. "Your ladyship," he said, mock bowing from his seat. "To what do we owe the pleasure? I need your ship. And your crew. For something dangerous." Lorne raised an eyebrow. "Dangerous how?" She leaned in. Her voice was low, urgent. "Have you heard of the Mind Forge?" Silence. Even the navigation droid blinked. "That's just a myth," someone muttered. "Old Dominion fairy tale." "No," Virelia said. "It's real. I've seen it. It's what destroyed my fleet." Lorne stood, the grin fading. "You're telling me your entire armada got wiped out by a bedtime story?" Virelia's eyes gleamed with fire. "I barely escaped. The forge isn't a weapon. It's alive." The crew shuffled. Lorne rubbed his jaw, thinking. "Why us?" "Because you don't play by rules. I need that. The forge thinks in patterns, in structure. You humans thrive in chaos." Lorne snorted. "Flattering. But this sounds like suicide." "Then die with glory," she replied, her voice sharp as a blade. That was the hook. They left orbit within the hour. The ship, the bastard Spark, lurched into hyperspace. Stars smeared into light rivers. Virelia sat alone in her quarters, clutching a pendant. Inside it was a hologram of her sister, Syrexa. Gone. Taken by the forge. Or maybe, turned. She closed her eyes and remembered the last message Syrexa had sent. Just static and a single word, run. Too late. 3 days into their voyage, they hit a debris field. Not natural. Twisted metal and shredded ships, some Dominion, some alien, some unrecognizable. One piece bore the insignia of her house. "Looks like someone had a bad day," Lorne muttered. Virelia stared through the viewport. "That's my cousin's ship." Aboard the derelict, things got worse. No bodies. Just signs of chaos. Blaster burns on walls, claw marks on steel. Strange symbols scrawled in blood or something like it. They found the bridge and something found them. The creature was tall, vaguely humanoid, its skin metallic and rippling. Eyes like molten orbs. It didn't speak. Just moved. Fast. One crewman screamed as his chest opened in a burst of crimson. Another got dragged into the dark, vanishing into the ventilation. They fired. The thing laughed. Not with a voice, just an echo in their minds. They escaped, barely. The Spark sealed itself and limped away. Virelia stood over the med bay, watching the injured breathe. Her hands were trembling. "You still think this is a myth?" she asked Lorne. He didn't answer. Later, they argued. "We go back, we die," he said. "We go forward, we fight," she countered. "If the forge reaches the core worlds, your Earth won't survive." Lorne didn't care about Earth. Not really. But something in her tone made him listen. They set course for the forge. No star maps showed its location. It moved, like a predator. But Virelia had the coordinates, drawn in blood, burned into her mind during her escape. The closer they got, the weirder things became. Dreams. Whispered voices. Hallucinations. Crew started seeing people from their past. Dead lovers. Lost children. One engineer walked into an airlock and tried to embrace her mother, who wasn't there. It's inside us, Virelia whispered. The forge, it learns you. Feeds on memory. She locked herself in her room. Cried. Screamed. Fought the image of Syrexa standing at the foot of her bed, smiling with hollow eyes. Come home, the vision said. You're not her. But I could be. Just let me in. She burned it. The image. The pendant. The memory. It didn't help. When they reached the coordinates, there was nothing. Just black space. Then something shifted. A crack opened in reality. Not a wormhole. Not a portal. More like the universe blinking. And in that blink, the forge looked back. The blink lasted less than a second. But for everyone aboard the Spark, it felt like hours. Their minds buzzed, some screamed, others just stared. Space bent. Not warped, bent. Like the laws of physics were being negotiated in real time. In front of them, something massive phased into reality. It didn't come through a gate, it didn't drift in from afar. It simply was. Instantly. It had no clear shape, just layers of spinning architecture, impossible geometry, shifting like it didn't care about being understood. And in the center, a glowing core, pulsing, alive. The Mind Forge. Captain Lorne was the first to speak. What the hell is that? Virelia didn't answer. Her hands gripped the railing so hard her knuckles turned lavender. Her breathing was ragged. Memories flooded back, her sister's scream, her fleet torn apart, that final jump to safety. The forge hadn't forgotten her. They didn't approach. It approached them. Without thrusters. Without engines. Just intention. The ship shook. Not from any blast, but from thought. A wave of emotion swept over them. Regret. Longing. Hunger. Then came the whisper. Not spoken aloud, but inside them. We remember. A console exploded. One of the techs collapsed, blood dripping from his nose. He convulsed. Virelia knelt beside him, but he was gone. Burned from the inside, mind melted like wax. They had to act. Lorne ordered evasive maneuvers. The Spark peeled away, burning plasma through vacuum. But the forge didn't chase. It waited. Back in the war room, Virelia laid it out. It's alive. A construct, yes, but one with a will. It doesn't want to destroy worlds. It wants to absorb them. Learn. Take. Transform. And you want to fight that? Lorne said, pacing. She nodded. I didn't drag you here to run. I brought you here because humans are unpredictable. Your chaos might be the only thing that throws it off balance. You're using us. Yes. But I'm here with you. I'll die with you. They didn't like the odds. But the crew was already too deep. Backing out now meant nothing. The forge knew them. It would find them, in time. So they chose to attack. The Spark launched a stealth pod. Virelia and a small team infiltrated the outer ring of the forge, if you could call it that. No walls. No gravity. Just corridors that looped back on themselves, rooms with inverted physics, voices that echoed from mouths never opened. The deeper they went, the more reality bled away. One crewman floated off and never came down. Another was folded into a wall, still alive, eyes darting, trapped. Don't stop, Virelia said, voice cracking. The center was worse. It was warm. Too warm. Alive. They reached the core, glowing blue-white, humming like 1,000 minds dreaming in unison. It pulsed once. And they all fell. She woke up in her memories. Her father. Her sister. Her home planet before the war. Everything perfect. Too perfect. She felt comforted. Safe. That's when she realized it wasn't real. The forge had trapped them in memory loops. Seductive. Gentle. Deadly. She tore herself free with sheer will. Others didn't. She found one crewman begging an invisible daughter not to leave. Another dancing alone to music only he could hear. Only 2 of them made it to the core. She placed the disruptor device, human tech, unstable, chaotic. Perfect. The forge spoke. Why resist? You are remembered. You are cherished. Let go. She screamed into the void, you're not real. The core shifted. For the first time, it showed emotion, confusion. That was enough. The disruptor exploded. Not a physical boom, an implosion of logic. Chaos seeping into perfection. Equations falling out of sync. The forge howled. She and her last surviving crewmate Tess, a sharp-tongued mechanic, barely escaped the collapsing chamber. Back on the Spark, they fled. The forge didn't follow. But something had changed. The crew stared at the sensors. The structure was shrinking. No. Dismantling itself. Unraveling like it didn't know how to exist anymore. Virelia collapsed in her seat. We hurt it. Enough. Lorne asked. She didn't know. But for now, it wasn't chasing. They set course for neutral space. Silence settled in. But not peace. As the stars drifted by, Virelia opened her pendant. There was no image anymore. Just a flickering light. Her sister's voice whispered, too faint to hear. Was it real? She didn't know. The Spark drifted for 2 days, the hum of its engines a low, uneasy heartbeat in the void. No pursuit. No more hallucinations. Just silence. Too much silence. Captain Lorne hated it. Quiet meant something was coming. Virelia hadn't spoken much since their narrow escape. She sat in the observation lounge, eyes locked on the flickering pendant in her hand. Every so often, a whisper escaped it. Just a breath. Not words. Not yet. She knew what it meant. The forge wasn't dead. Something's still in there, she said one evening, her voice brittle. Tess leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Yeah. We all feel it. Like a headache you can't find. It's in the circuits. In the air. Maybe even in us. They scanned the Spark, ran diagnostics, scrubbed the system clean. But the ship behaved fine. Too fine. Until it started talking back. First it was just a glitch. Navigation lights flickered in patterns. The AI voice looped strange phrases. Then came the dreams again. This time sharper. More real. Virelia woke one night with frost on her breath inside a sealed cabin. The walls shimmered. A message etched itself across the window. We are reborn. The forge hadn't just survived. It had infected them. Not physically. Psychically. It was inside their neural signatures, their memories, their fears. Each of them carried a shard of it now unknowingly. That's when the murders started. First, an engineer was found dead in the cargo bay. No wounds. Just empty. Eyes wide, face frozen in awe. Like he'd seen a god. Then another. This time, the walls were painted with words in an unknown script only Virelia could read them. She remembers. The crew turned on each other. Accusations. Paranoia. Tess pulled a knife on a medic who said the wrong thing. Someone tried to eject Lorne in his sleep. The Spark had become a haunted house. Virelia called a meeting. The remaining crew huddled in the mess hall, most too tired to speak. We didn't destroy it, she said. We invited it in. So what? We're doomed, someone asked. No. But we have to finish what we started. Lorne stood. His eyes were bloodshot, voice raw. Where? The forge unraveled. We saw it. Virelia turned to the stars. It moved again. I can feel it. And it's not hiding anymore. It's calling. She showed them the pendant. The light inside had grown. And now it pulsed in rhythm like a signal. A beacon. They traced it. Through back channels. Old Dominion archives. Forbidden maps. The new location was impossible, deep in the rift sector. A place no ship returned from. A place where even time collapsed. They argued. But in the end, they went. The Spark groaned into the rift. Space changed. No stars. Just darkness layered on darkness. And noise. A faint hum beneath everything. The forge's heartbeat. Inside the rift, the laws of physics cracked. Time ran strange. They lost a full day in the blink of an eye. Clocks refused to sync. The medic aged 3 years in 6 hours. And then, finally, they saw it. The forge had evolved. No longer a construct. It was a being. A massive, fluid form wrapped in tendrils of energy. Glowing eyes blinked across its surface. It no longer imitated architecture. It mimicked life. It had become its memories. And it remembered her. A voice filled the ship. Not one voice. Thousands. Laird. Come closer. Share. Understand. Virelia responded. Not with words. She stepped into the transference pod. Hooked her mind to the interface. What the hell are you doing? Tess shouted. It wants me. I need to know why. In the mind link, she fell through memories, not hers. Others. Billions. Worlds. Lives. Civilizations the forge had consumed. It didn't hate. It didn't crave power. It longed to understand. To be everything. Her memories surfaced. Syrexa. The war. Her father's disappointment. Her own insecurities masked by nobility. The forge absorbed it all. It offered her something terrifying, oneness. A chance to become part of the Great Weave. To never be alone again. She nearly said yes. But then she saw Syrexa. Not the real one. A memory turned against her. The forge didn't understand grief, it fed on it. You think you're helping, Virelia said inside the dream. But you're just erasing. She pulled back. Rejected the connection. The pod cracked. Blood leaked from her nose. We can't kill it, she told the crew. But we can teach it. Teach a god. Lorne said. No. Teach a child. That's what it is. A child with infinite power. The only way forward was risky. Let it in. But guide it. Rewrite the link. Feed it chaos. Human chaos. Flawed, irrational, beautiful. They set the trap. The spark sent out a broadcast. A web of human emotion, contradiction, and paradox. Laughter. Pain. Joy. Regret. All wrapped in storytelling. Memory with meaning. The forge took it. Hesitated. Wavered. Virelia spoke through the ship's comms. You remember. But do you feel? The forge trembled. Its tendrils withdrew. Its core pulsed slower. It didn't die. It didn't vanish. It slept. The forge slept. Not gone. Not destroyed. Just quiet. A mind too vast to kill, but now, finally, at peace. For how long, no one knew. But for the crew of the bastard Spark, silence was victory. They drifted out of the rift, bruised and shaken. The stars welcomed them like old friends, their familiar shimmer a reminder that the universe hadn't ended. Not today. Virelia stood on the deck, her gaze locked on the sleeping anomaly left behind. The forge had retreated into itself, curled like a cosmic infant. She could feel it still, at the edge of perception, a soft hum in the back of her skull. But the pressure was gone. No more whispers. No more illusions. No more guilt being used like a weapon. Tess joined her, a scar above her brow still healing. So, what now? We just let it lie there like a sleeping volcano? Virelia didn't answer right away. She watched a nebula stretch across the dark, blooming like a wound healing in slow motion. Would you kill a child because they dreamed badly? She said at last. Tess sighed. Depends how many ships the dream destroys. But there was no bite in her words. Just weariness. And maybe a hint of respect. Lorne called a meeting. The surviving crew, half their original number, gathered in the commons. No speeches. No medals. Just looks exchanged. Scars acknowledged. Officially, he said, we saw nothing in the rift. Ship malfunction. Maybe a radiation burst. That's the story. Everyone nodded. But they knew the truth. Virelia approached Lorne afterward. I need to go back to the Dominion. They need to hear what happened. They'll bury it. Or twist it. Maybe. But I owe them the truth. We can't control the forge. But we can learn from it. Lorne handed her a sealed chip. Take the Sparks logs. Every word, Every scream, every choice. If they listen, really listen, they'll understand. She smiled faintly. You think so? I think. We finally saw what it means to be alive. How messy it is. How painful. And how beautiful. Even the Forge couldn't make sense of that. She left the next morning. The spark continued on, its crew quieter, closer. They weren't just survivors. They were witnesses. As for Virelia, when she returned to her world, she wasn't a noblewoman anymore. Not in the way they remembered her. She spoke plainly. She sat with commoners. She listened. The Dominion tried to hush her story. But it leaked. And when it did, it spread. Not just about the Forge. But about what it taught them. That intelligence isn't wisdom. That memory isn't truth. That power without understanding leads to ruin. And most of all, that chaos, the wild human spark, is not a flaw to be corrected, but a gift to be embraced. Years later, the Forge stirred once. Only once. A pulse sent across space. Not a scream. Not a warning. A question. Are you still there? Virelia answered. Not with machines. Not with ships. She sent a story. A simple one. About a child who tried to understand the stars. And far across the galaxy, something listened. Moral, even the greatest mind in the universe cannot replace the messy, chaotic beauty of being human. Empathy, imperfection, and the willingness to understand are what keep destruction at bay. True power isn't in knowing everything, it's in choosing what not to consume.